Steve, thank you very much for joining us on the Security Space podcast this week. The first of a new spin-off series as well. So, yeah, the previous, don't know how many episodes I've done now, but it's a fair few now. It's always been very sort of, technical people coming on it and talking about cyber. And I thought, let's get the other view from the side of, HR and talent. So, could you please give the audience a little bit of an introduction to yourself, Steve?
Yeah, my name's Steve Tellwright. I'm a People and Quality Director at Capula, which is based in North Staffordshire, in a little village called Stone, sort of midway between Stafford and Stoke-on-Trent. The company's been around 50 years and it's into automation and control. But a lot of our clients require protection systems and cyber security on their systems as well. And we also offer it as a service. Me personally, I'm not a career HR guy. I've had a very eclectic background. I've been Air Force fireman. I've got degrees in safety and material science. I've done lots of things, but I ended up in HR probably about 20 years ago. I've done professional competency assessments, and I'm now a chartered fellow of the CIPD. And I've been with Capula since about 2015, when I joined them, having been in FTSE 100 businesses prior to that.
Perfect. Okay, so very sort of different background to what we've had on the pod before, but I think that's where I wanted to take this, because it's time to start giving the view of the cyber market a little bit of a more eclectic viewpoint as opposed to just people in the industry. So, Steve, so in terms of your, let's start from like a top down, and we'll work ourselves down into more of the details. What is your view on cybersecurity teams in general for an organisation? What's the importance of them?
Well, I suppose it depends whether you're selling the systems or whether you're buying the systems, or whether you're creating them. But for Capula particularly, we need cyber teams to help us provide security on our systems that we provide for our clients. So our systems are mainly for critical national infrastructure across the UK, and our clients range from people like National Grid to the military to some nuclear facilities, etc., etc. And those clients require us to have a good degree of anti-penetration, where people can't hack their systems and things like that. So we try and build cybersecurity into our control systems so that they can't be damaged. And of course, we also have a facility where we can go out and provide consultancy to our clients to help them shore up and protect their own systems that they've currently got. So we can go in with the competencies that we've got and assess their vulnerabilities and then provide a solution to help them to fix it.
Yep. No, absolutely. So obviously of the mindset that they are very important. However, it's your role now to obviously, sometimes HR can be seen as a blocker for security teams, because they just want all security projects to get the green light and it's golden. Obviously, we know that you've got to manage the whole sort of organisation in terms of different business needs. So, how do you go about doing that? Like, is there always conflicts? Do you have to look at the other side of the fence? How do you manage a cybersecurity team's needs in line with the expectations of the organisation?
Wow, that's a really broad question. Let's build it a slightly different way, Nick. So
okay.
we set our business up to be operationally focused to meet the needs of the client. Ultimately, we're there to serve the client, and it's the client's needs and demands that we are subservient to and want to help them to find a solution to their problems. That's essentially what we do. A component of that is obviously cyber. So we set our business up in verticals which meet the sort of industries that we're operating in, and we have three sort of verticals. One's nuclear, one's energy, and one's a service and support function.
Yep.
And if you like, the service and support, whilst it's its own vertical, it has a horizontal component as well across the other two business units. And we sit our cyber team within the service and support so that we can flex it and put it into those business units as and when we need it. So if the business units are running a project, and our projects vary in size and duration, some go on for years, in the nuclear industry, some are a bit quicker. The nuclear business teams can call on the cyber team to help them, look at the systems that they've got. We do a bit of a bleed through in terms of competency. our other engineers learn from the cyber guys and remember it for next time. And so it's the operational teams that really drive, the elements of cyber that we want. But obviously the directors and the senior leadership team want to ensure that we've got a sound offering, that the people that we employ are capable of delivering it, they have the right competency levels, they understand the customer needs. And we'll talk about that, because I think there's a big thing about the ability of the individuals not to impress on the client what the individual thinks they want, and actually listen to what the client wants. So we have a little bit of a battle, I think, sometimes between what a cyber expert would consider is the appropriate thing to do and what the client is prepared to pay for. And sometimes we have to be very careful that the client might want a very quick and easy solution, and the cyber guys want to put in a much thicker and more detailed solution. But the client doesn't either have the capability or the capacity or the finances to support that kind of decision at the time. So we do have to do a lot of balancing around ensuring that we meet the client needs, but we give them exactly what they want, and maybe then advise them on the top of that they could purchase something better, or they could have further consultation, or they could do further work.
So is that balance inside with, like you say, the business, rather than, because obviously the security teams are just wanting to deliver a good job and deliver their services. So let's just say, let's play a hypothetical situation, and there is a client that they've got really tight purse strings. They can't they can't be paying X amount, like they just don't have the budget for that. But your security team obviously want to deliver above and beyond. In that situation, how are you sort of managing the security team? And is it literally just communication from your side saying, look, they just can't afford it, we're just going to have to give them what they need? Like, I know that might be not, I know you might not be taking full pride in your work because you know that you can do it to the nth degree, or is it something else? Is it not just a chat? Is it something else?
Yeah, I can't talk about specifics there because I
Yeah.
don't run that team, but we have a very capable management team within our service and support department. A business manager that's been in service and support for a long time. He's very capable, and so is the team around him. And what they'll do is they'll go out. They'll get a call from a client. The team will go out and assess the client's needs. They'll come back. They'll then discuss it. And on occasion, I'm sure we give 2 or 3. Alternatives, like, we can do this for this price, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And I think sometimes it's, with the client, your system's not that bad, you could probably just do this, or your system's really bad and you're really vulnerable. You might need to consider to put some more salary and some more cost in. But ultimately, it is what the client wants, and if the client's only prepared to pay that, then we'll go in, have a look, and provide a report and advice on what they should do with it.
Yep.
And maybe that's in stages. Stage 1, do this; stage 2, do this. If you then find some money, or you have some more vulnerabilities, then do this, do this, do this. So it's a list of options, really, so that the client can then work down the list of options. Just like when we get contractors that come and do work for Capula, they might say, oh, you need a whole new roof. Well, hang on a minute, we'll just do this, then we'll do this, and then when we saved up a year or two, we'll put a new roof on, as we did. And that was exactly what we did with our contractors. So
Yeah.
We have to accept that sometimes they are constrained by their purse strings, and a lot of the time they are small independent businesses that don't have the means to fix this all at once.
So you touched on a very good point there. The contract and the permanent workforce of your security teams. Do you find it? Well, firstly, give us a bit of a background in terms of your, permanent split of your workforce and your contract, and how often do you call on a contract workforce? Is it project based, or is it planned? Like, what's going on?
No, we don't tend to use contract based. We much prefer to have a permanent workforce, and most of our workforce is permanently full-time employed staff by us, and our cyber team is fully that. And clearly we have some attrition. Some people come into the business and they do a period of time with us, and then they move on to something else because of their interests. But generally speaking, we try and have a permanent full-time workforce that is engaged with the business, understands where Capula is and where it is in the market, understands the clients, and can deliver what the client wants when they want it. So that's the position that we tend to hold. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you are sort of recruiting for this permanent workforce, then, how do you actually find the cybersecurity talent market? Because there's this big debate that there's this skills shortage and that it's hard to find. What's your view on it from your sort of career standpoint?
Yeah, I think it is a shortage occupation a little bit. I think, over the last few years, clearly the need for cyber's grown immensely. You've seen lots of commentary around, people being hacked and stuff being left on trains by politicians and things like that. I think as the world gets more sophisticated, then I think you have got to lock down your systems, and I think the cyber teams can help with that, especially if they can put barriers in place to stop people, the rogue nations or the rogue individuals from hacking the systems. So there is a little bit of a shortage, but it's good to see that some of the bodies that we work with in terms of education and profile do allow, or have got cyber elements to qualifications. So we can talk about that in a moment, but we do a big apprenticeship system where we put people through level 6, which are degree apprenticeships, and a component of that in the digital solutions professional standard in the apprenticeship, you can choose to do a cyber route. So a lot of people in our business, when they mature as apprentices and they get into year 2 and 3, then they choose the cyber route as their preferred route. But most of our workforce, though, because of the shortage, we do tend to have to just go out and find people, because when you have apprentices, you need people to mentor them as well. So we have to go out and find those people, and that can be quite challenging. But we go to market in any way we can. We use job boards, sometimes LinkedIn, sometimes people who your network, those kind of things. And also, like everybody else, we use recruitment agencies that specialize in those kind of facilities. So it's a bit of a do what you can, really, to find the right people to come to your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, I just want to go back on the apprenticeships point, because that's a really interesting one. Because not everybody does that. Not everyone sort of does take a chance on the lower ranks of the ladder. And it's the amount of times I speak to people on a weekly basis, it is them first getting into the industry. It's difficult, and everyone has a different answer in terms of when I'm doing these podcasts and I ask them about the journey. The amount of times I hear, "Oh, I was doing something else, and then I just came across a former colleague one day, and he introduced me to cyber. I went back and did a degree, and it's an industry that you fall into a hell of a lot, which is it's bonkers, I think, because I think it's a great industry. I'm speaking obviously very biased. There's so much opportunity in it. So on this apprenticeships point that you were saying, so talk to me about an apprenticeships journey. Do they have to be sort of graduates from university? Can they be people that don't have any educational background? Just talk to me about how this whole apprenticeship works.
Yeah, okay. So apprenticeships have been around for a long time, but they were changed in 2017 by the government. I don't think it's a perfect system, and it needs a bit of work, but we've managed to learn to work inside it. We do 2 principal routes. We have a number of apprenticeships, some at level 2 and level 3, which is sort of your BTEC level and A levels. But primarily we do level 6, which is a bachelor's degree, an engineering degree, or a level 7, which is a master's degree. And we take them from age 18, essentially, kids who show an aptitude for it, have an interest in it, believe that that's their career route. We take them from sixth form colleges or from the FE colleges where they've done some form of digital BTEC or something like that. Some have just done A levels, computer science. We take them at age 18. We take somewhere between 4 and 6 a year. Nice. Every year. We've now got a whole team of about 40 apprentices across engineering and digital. Mostly engineering, because that's our background, but we've probably got about 6 or 8, 10 maybe digital. It's a 4-year degree. Some people do it in 3. It's with Staffs Uni. It's a Tech UK skills, Tech Skills UK gold accredited degree as well at Staffs Uni. For those people that don't know Tech Skills, I suggest you go and have a look at them. Tech Skills UK, they're worth a look.
I'll put a link in the bio of this video.
Yeah, and you know, they're an industry partner that, you know, I do some work with, you know, about accrediting good quality degrees, and you find that the people that are on those degrees tend to do very, very well. But we use Stafford University locally, where we send all our apprentices, and they do block release over a period of 3 or 4 years. And like I say, the last 2 years, they can choose to do cyber as a route. There's also networking software development, but cyber as a route. And we've got 2 or 3 who've just elected to do cyber as their route here. So it's, I think it's important, because if you're not going to just change people who are 30, 40 and 50, you know, into going into doing an apprenticeship. So they tend to learn another way. But what we need to do is educate people in schools, you know, about the route for cyber, about IT, digital engineering. And there's a real lack of knowledge in schools about these kind of industry needs. And I think sometimes schools don't advise particularly well, careers advisors, on what, you know, kids can do. And if you think about kids these days, they're all tech savvy. You know, they've all got phones, they've all got, you know, Xboxes, they've all got PCs, and they are very, very capable. And a lot are bleeding out of the industry, you know, out of that area and going into other things, and not really sure of where they want to go. But actually, you know, if they really understand digital, and they become either OT, operational technology, or IT, information technology, and follow that route, they'll have a fantastic career, because they'll never be unemployed. You know,
I agree entirely, because like, I still think, like, the education system, it can still be a bit outdated. It's like, oh, don't fix something that's not broken. It's like, why are we still learning Pythagoras' theorem when, like, we should be learning about how to pay taxes? Like, get in touch. It is the digital age now, where, like, we're all sort of running on some sort of digital capacity. Why is that not getting pushed more? Like, when I was in school, granted, what was it? It's about 15 years ago now. It was, IT was an option, and I'm still thinking like it was an option that you could choose. And now I hope it's a necessity, like your English, maths, and science. I would assume that IT should be, just given that how important it is in the world. But maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it is. And we go to schools, and I think the government are still, you know, set on SATs and, you know, things like that. And I think there needs to be a look, particularly in the STEM subjects, you know, science, technology, engineering, and maths. I think, you know, the UK is really short, and I think we've got to do something at year 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to encourage these children to go in. But I think the career advice is poor. I'm not sure, you know, people in the educational system are really aware of how, you know, industry and business and commerce has moved on in the UK, and the roles that are there now. You know, if I look at my career and, you know, how it's changed over the 40 years I've been in business, you know, it's a huge change. And some of the jobs that, you know, the commentary is, you know, the jobs that our children will be doing don't exist yet. And that's probably true to some extent, because, you know, the fast pace of digital and engineering and science and movement is just incredible. And I think we're still doing traditional subjects, and I don't think that's helping. Yeah. And that's why I think ultimately we're seeing the shortfall of engineers, scientists, you know, and digital people coming into the UK. And I think we're really struggling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just wanted to go back on a point in terms of the final point on the apprenticeship. And you mentioned that it was mainly for the people sort of 16, 18. Have you guys not considered sort of going to the more senior route, and people that are maybe, you know, 30, 40, even 50 onwards, who might just be like, look, I want to give this cyber thing a crack. I want to give it a go. Like, they've got an aptitude to learn. Some of the softer skills that they've learned in a previous career might just lend itself nicely in terms of security. Is that not something you guys are open to?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't think I said we only take 18. I said I think that's where we primarily take from.
Right.
Yeah. We've got apprentices who are in their mid-30s, early 40s. You know, we do. The apprenticeship system, though, as it stands, it's not really easy for people who've got other commitments, right? It's heavily bureaucratic. It's heavily documentation. It's got heavy documentation, and it is burdensome for somebody who's got children, other commitments, family life, things like that. It's hard work. Yeah. Now, I did most of my study in work. I did my master's, and if I think of the 3 years that I did as a master's, whilst working, it was incredibly difficult, to juggle everything you've got going. And an apprenticeship adds a layer on top of that as well. So what I think we're trying to do with adult learners is find other routes. Now, it's not easy to say for somebody to say, I want a career change, I want to come into your business and learn cyber. That's a huge leap of faith for an employer to do that. Yeah. The individual, if they want to do that, they've got to give up some personal time, I think, and whether it's night school or day release or something, but they've got to do something to get them on a platform where they can show the employer that they've got something, because employers are not going to risk it just on a faith that, oh, this is what I want to do. If you've come another career and you just want to switch, you've got to give something to the employer that shows them that you've set your mind to this and you've done some voluntary work, or you've done this, that, and the other, because it's a big leap of faith for the employer to chuck money. Remember, every college course, every one of those degrees costs the employer 27 grand, essentially £27,000 to do a 3-year degree on the apprenticeship. Now, some pay the levy, so it's a tax anyway, but it's a big commitment because of the supervision, the work levels that they can do, the mentoring that has to go on. There's a big investment by the employer, probably double, beyond what the cost of the course is. So if somebody wants to go down that route, and we encourage that, because people in their 30s generally are more stable than young people. They have commitments. They're generally, familiar with the term work and what that means, and going to work and being in the work environment. But you can't just come along, rock up to an employer without showing some commitment. So if somebody came to us and said, I've done a BTEC at night school and in digital, then clearly they're going to have an advantage, and it's something we would look at. Yeah, absolutely. Plus, similarly, we have employees who start out on one career and then they want to move to another. We're much more able to move them because we know them, we know who they are, we know their capability. So our propensity to invest in them is much higher.
Yeah. Okay. Just one of my last few questions, because I think we've absolutely flown by. I've just looked at the time. We've only got a few minutes left. So what I'd like is just your view, Steve, on, because obviously you've recruited for cybersecurity professionals for a while now. Say I'm a cybersecurity engineer, I'm looking for a job at Capula. How does my CV need to look to you? What do I need to do in an interview to get the job at Capula? Talk to me how I stand out from the crowd if I've got a couple of years experience and I want a role at Capula.
Yeah, okay. So obviously I'm not a technical expert in cyber. So we go to market, we have a look, people send their CVs and they contact us through LinkedIn or other mechanisms, our website, things like that. And generally we have a look at their CV. The CV doesn't need to be 10 pages long. It just needs to be poignant and tell us the relevance that we're in, things that we're interested in. Qualifications do help, but they're not everything, because a lot of people learn by experience.
Just before you go any further, so just a point on that, is that are you massive, or some organisations they need to have a similar sector, need to be from the energy sector, gas sector, or are you not that bothered with Capula? It doesn't have to have industry specific experience. Is it just a bonus?
No, I think it can be a bonus, but it can also be a negative as well, in that sometimes you get two sort of, we've always done it this way,
Yes.
So sometimes a bit of fresh thinking. I think you need to have a blend, like with all things, you need to blend it and mix it, and have people on your team that think differently. Have you tried this before? Have you tried that before? I think that's all adds to the richness of employment. So I don't have a problem with that. We're not sort of industry specific as some industries are. There are some nuances in that. The nuclear industry has a high level of paperwork and process and quality, as you can imagine, and so therefore being able to navigate the nuclear side of things is definitely an advantage, but it isn't a barrier to entry, but there is, as you say, would be advantageous. So we look at them, but what we're really interested in, when you think about this, our cyber teams do not get locked in a room and just left to play with computers, right? They don't. They've got to involve themselves with the team. They've got to be business savvy. They've got to understand project delivery and how the cost is made and how the company makes profit and all those things. It's got to be client facing. It's got to be able to converse with the client. It's got to be able to understand the client, you know, and it's got to be able to listen more than talk in a lot of cases, you know.
Yeah.
So we're looking for people who've got the right behavioral skills, that can come in wide-eyed, you know, look you in the eye, have good dialogue, be articulate, all those things, be passionate about their subject, backed up with some qualifications or some experience. But the client interaction bit's really good. It's no good having somebody who, you know, upsets the client all the time by just overwriting them. No, that's not what you want. Listen to me, I know better. You know, you've got to be very careful with that in this day and age.
Yep.
You know, and so a business like us, we always look at the behaviors, we look at how they present themselves, and we look at what they bring beyond just the qualifications that they've got. Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, really interesting point. And that pretty much brings us to time, Steve. So thank you very much for coming on to the Security Space. It was really interesting getting the another viewpoint, and I'm sure it will raise a few questions. I'm sure it will shed some light to more of the techies in the industry. It's like, all right, okay, I didn't see it from that point of view. So if anybody's got any questions or anything raised in this video, I'll put mine and Steve's info below. But yeah, once again, Steve, thanks for jumping on.